She died Monday after a long battle with cancer.
The last moments of a person's life will reveal the most important things. On August 11, 2025, Hollywood was silent, with sad news. Danielle Spencer, the little girl Dee Thomas, who had left an impression on the childhood of millions of viewers, had breathed her last. From the bright lights of What's Happening to the quiet days of wearing a white coat healing little creatures, Danielle Spencer's life is a journey full of glory, but also filled with silent wounds. In that final moment, Danielle softly uttered a sentence, just a few words, but enough to make anyone who heard it speechless, unable to forget it for the rest of their lives. What is that saying? And why does it make us all take a look at ourselves? Life journey. From child star to veterinarian. On June 24, 1965, on the crowded streets of the Bronx, New York, a little girl named Danielle Louise Spencer was born. Her father, James Spencer, was a civil servant, and her mother, Cheryl Smith Spencer, was a dedicated teacher. When her parents divorced, Danielle's mother remarried Tim Pelt, who later became a strong supporter, supporting her every step of the way in pursuing her artistic dream. Ever since she was a child, Danielle has been fascinated by the spotlight and the world of acting. She took acting classes, enjoyed memorizing lines, and transformed into different characters. For her, acting was not just a game, but a journey to discover countless pieces of her personality. The door opened for her first opportunity, a television audition, when she was barely out of her teens. At first, she missed out on the role of Dee Thomas in What's Happening. But just a month later, the fateful call came. This time, fate chose her. Acting career, Dee and her ageless charm. In 1976, Danielle stepped onto the screen as Dee Thomas, Raj's witty, quick-witted younger sister. In What's Happening, Dee was more than just a supporting character. She was the spice that lit up every scene. With her mischievous eyes, half-smile, and iconic catchphrase, "Ooh, I'm gonna tell Mama," Danielle made audiences laugh. But then also, remember her forever. The series lasted 3 seasons, 65 episodes, and in each episode, Dee left her mark. Years later, she returned in What's Happening Now, 1985, 1988. She appeared in 16 episodes as a reminder that little Dee was still there, just more grown up. And then when Dee made a surprise appearance in As Good as It Gets 1997 as a veterinarian, the audience realized this role was not just a script, it was her real life. Veterinary education and career. When the heart chooses the quiet path. Leaving Hollywood, Danielle did not cling to the bright lights or the applause. Instead, she chose a path against the current. A path few celebrities dare to take. She returned to being a student, starting over from textbooks and labs. She enrolled at UCLA, diligently pursuing a bachelor's degree in marine biology. But that was just the beginning. The dream she had had since she was 5 years old, to wear a white coat and heal animals, was still burning in her heart. And so, Danielle Spencer continued her journey to Tuskegee University School of Veterinary Medicine in Alabama. In 1993, Danielle graduated with a doctorate in veterinary medicine. She had officially realized a promise she had made to herself since she was a child. For more than 20 years, instead of facing the camera, Danielle stood before the grateful eyes of the dogs, cats, and vulnerable animals she saved. There was no more thunderous applause, but there were quiet, heartwarming moments. A trembling dog nestled into her lap after surgery, or an owner burst into tears at being able to hold his pet again. In a 1985 interview with the Amsterdam News, Spencer discussed her passion for her work. "I've always had a knack for caring for animals, and I've always been interested in chemistry, bacteriology, and the body," she said. She regularly appears on WTVR CBS 6's Virginia This Morning to share pet care tips. Danielle has become a familiar face to many listeners. In 2012, she told people that it was her spinal injury that changed her perspective on veterinary medicine. From just relieving pain to finding the underlying cause and treating it. Here, Danielle found a different kind of happiness. Not explosive, not flashy, but quiet and deep. A happiness that Hollywood, with all its glamour, could never give her. Not only dedicated to the veterinary field, Danielle Spencer is also an inspirational figure. In 2011, after many years away from Hollywood, Danielle Spencer decided to open up and tell her life story in the memoir Through the Fire Journal of a Child Star. The book is a journey that takes readers back to the glorious days on the set of What's Happening, interspersed with honest slices of the dark side of fame when it comes too soon. From public pressure, family loss. Danielle also shares without hesitation about the difficult years and how she found peace when wearing the white coat of the veterinary profession. With a writing style that is both intimate and sincere, Danielle does not sugarcoat the past, nor does she let the pain obscure the light. She writes to remind herself and the reader that even if you go through fire, you can still come out with an intact heart. She also volunteered at a homeless shelter and provided free or reduced-cost animal care to those in need. In Richmond, Reverend Marcus Martin called her a warm soul who always had time for people, and a blessing to the community and the church. Looking back at Danielle Spencer's life, one can see a strange paradox. The bright spotlight always goes hand in hand with deep darkness. She has made millions of viewers laugh with her role as the mischievous Dee Thomas. But few people know that behind that smile lies a series of challenges, seemingly insurmountable. Personal challenges, strength from the darkness. In 1977, when What's Happening entering its second season, Danielle's life suddenly took an unexpected turn. On the way, the car carrying her and her stepfather Tim Pelt got into a serious accident. The sound of metal clashing, the smell of smoke, the sound of car horns, all combined into a chaotic and haunting moment. Tim Pelt, the man who had entered her life as a support, always encouraging her dreams, was gone. Danielle, then a teenager, fell into a coma for 3 weeks. Her body was riddled with injuries, and doctors were unsure if she would ever be the same again. After the car accident, Danielle had to have surgery to repair the problem, leaving her partially paralyzed for 8 months. She was treated at the Kessler Rehabilitation Institute in New Jersey, a place Danielle is deeply grateful to for helping her get her life back. Her mother was there every day, holding her daughter's hand, whispering words of hope into ears that seemed deaf. When Danielle woke up, she knew her world had changed forever. She had lost a stepfather who loved her like a father, but miraculously, she was still alive. And as if there was an invisible string pulling her back to the light, Danielle decided to return to the set. Not because she wanted to prove anything, but because she knew to make her stepfather proud, she had to keep going. But the shadow of that accident never left. Decades later, doctors discovered that her chronic back pain stemmed from spinal stenosis, a direct result of that fateful collision. The dull pain became an unwelcome companion, but Danielle learned to live with it. The fierce fight against the terrible disease, cancer. If the accident was her first ordeal in 2014, Danielle was fighting another battle, more intense and devastating. She had breast cancer. For many women, that diagnosis is a sentence. For Danielle, it was a warning that time was limited and she had to fight. The decision to undergo a double mastectomy was not an easy one, but Danielle chose it as a way to regain control of her life. The surgery was successful, but it left scars not only on her body, but also on her soul. She had to learn to accept her new image, and in the process, she found strength in simple things. A hug from her mother, the laughter of her friends, or the loyal gaze of the dogs she cared for at the clinic. But fate was not done. Just 4 years later, in 2018, Danielle was forced to undergo emergency brain surgery. Once again, she was on the operating table, hovering between life and death. When she woke up, Danielle said the first thing she thought about was not fear, but gratitude, because once again she was still here. During those dark days, Danielle never hid her gratitude. She said it was her family, especially her mother and brother, who kept her from the depths of despair. They were the reason she smiled and kept going every morning. Her mother Cheryl and her jazz trumpeter brother Jeremy Pelt were always there, not only in the hospital, but in everyday life. Danielle once said that it was their love that pulled her out of the depths of despair. Those simple moments to her were more precious than any awards or stage lights. When her light is written into history. In 2006, Danielle Spencer made a surprise return to the TV Land Awards stage and received the Character Most in Need of a Timeout Award, a humorous award that honors roles that leave a deep impression on the audience's memory. This award was presented together with the cast of Little House on the Prairie as a way to recall Dee Thomas's witty and direct to the point of causing trouble personality in What's Happening. In 2016, among thousands of iconic figures in African American history, Danielle Spencer's name was honored at the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. The moment was not only a personal honor, but also a recognition that Dee Thomas's character expanded the image of Black children on the small screen, engraved in the memories of many generations of audiences, becoming a timeless cultural icon. But this honor is more meaningful than that. It is a reminder of a whole life story. From a famous child star, a girl who survived a serious accident, to a resilient woman who was reborn from illness and spent the rest of her life caring for small creatures. Danielle Spencer is not only remembered for her mark on television, but also for her will to live, her ability to constantly regenerate, and her compassionate heart that touched so many people. When asked about the honor, Danielle said simply, "I just hope my story will continue to be told, so that the next generation knows that every dream is worth nurturing." Danielle Spencer's marriage and family. Amidst the turmoil of life, Danielle Spencer once found a peaceful place to rest with Gary Fields. They got married in 1999 in a small and warm ceremony. There were no flashbulbs or loud headlines. True to the way Danielle chose to live quietly, cherishing what truly belonged to her. For more than a decade, they went through many ups and downs together. But then, in 2013, they both decided to end their marriage. No fuss, no back and forth. Just two people who loved each other long enough to understand that it was time for each of them to go their separate ways. Just a year later, in 2014, Danielle found a new chapter when she married David L. David, a businessman from New Jersey. For her, it was proof that after heartbreak, the heart can still open up to receive love in a more mature and profound way. Danielle has been married twice, but has no children. However, her love is shared with the dogs, cats, and other four-legged members that Danielle treats. Many friends have said that Danielle's clinic is like a warm home. It is a place where all creatures, human or animal, are welcomed with tenderness and warmth. Danielle is not just a movie star or a veterinarian, but a woman who loves and is deeply loved. After more than 2 decades of wearing a white coat and saving countless lives, Danielle Spencer still maintains a quiet, peaceful life with her family and work. But then, in the summer of 2025, that peace began to crumble. The last days, the moment of farewell. In August 2025, while the Richmond summer was still in full swing, Danielle Spencer's condition took a turn for the worse. The stomach cancer she had been fighting silently began to cause serious complications. On August 1st, she was hospitalized with a severe urinary tract infection that led to septic shock along with pneumonia in both lungs. Her body was thin and weak, and eating became impossible, so doctors had to feed her through a feeding tube. In those days, the hospital room became her little world. On the white bed, amid the smell of antiseptic and the sound of heart monitors, Danielle still kept the habit of smiling at the nurses every time they entered. Her smile, though weak, was enough to dispel the heavy atmosphere. One day, a young nurse said that it was Danielle's encouragement. "You're doing great. Don't forget that your job is to give people hope." That made her cry after her shift. Family and friends took turns visiting. Her mother, Cheryl, often sat by her bedside holding her daughter's hand, as she had done when Danielle was in a coma after the accident. Her brother Jeremy brought his trumpet and occasionally played soft jazz, adding a little sound to the hospital room. Despite her failing health, Danielle's eyes still sparkled with faith. She didn't talk much about her pain or illness. She often asked others how they were doing or shared a few funny memories from her filmmaking days to make everyone laugh. Deep down, she knew she was approaching the end, but she chose to face it with equanimity, as if this was just another part of the journey that she was always ready to continue. On August 11th, 2025, Danielle Spencer's heart stopped beating. She passed away surrounded by her family at the age of 60, leaving a void that could never be filled in the hearts of those who loved her. It was a loss. From the audience who grew up watching What's Happening to those who saw her bend down to gently comfort an injured animal, Danielle's death is not just the end of a life, but a reminder that kindness and strength can leave a deeper mark than any amount of glory. The final message about happiness. Perhaps Danielle Spencer's last words were not at the moment of death, but were sent by her many years ago. In a 2016 interview, when asked about her philosophy of life, Danielle did not talk about her fame or achievements. Instead, she smiled and shared something simple but profound. You really have to live life for you at that minute, and just try to have fun. Be lighthearted and be happy while you're here, because you never know when that time is going to end. It sounds simple. Live for yourself. Be happy today, because no one knows when time will stop. But for Danielle, that sentence is a long journey, filled with pain, the desire to love, and not give up. The words at the time were just a gentle reminder, but when Danielle passed away in August 2025, they suddenly became a spiritual legacy, ringing like a reminder from her heart. It is not just advice, but the crystallization of a lifetime. From the little girl sitting in the spotlight, the young woman overcoming a life-threatening accident, the resilient woman fighting illness, to the veterinarian who devotes all her heart to the little creatures, Danielle understands that happiness is not a distant destination, but the moments when we know how to smile, love, and live fully today. And so, even though she has left, that message remains touching the hearts of those who have known her name. It is like a small, smoldering but persistent flame, illuminating those who are caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, forgetting how to enjoy every moment. Farewells. As colleagues and family say their last words to Danielle Spencer. The news of Danielle Spencer's passing on the morning of August 11, 2025, not only shocked fans but also deeply touched the hearts of those who had been by her side, from co-stars, colleagues, to her closest loved ones. Haywood Nelson, who played Dwayne in What's Happening, called Danielle a bright, loving, down-to-earth, resilient warrior. We have lost a daughter, a sister, a family member, a What's Happening actress, a veterinarian, an animal rights activist, and our cancer hero. He wrote, Danielle was loved. She will be held forever, even though not in this form. For Ernest Lee Thomas, who played Dee's brother Raj on screen, the loss recalled their 49-year journey together. No more pain for my beloved sister, Dr. Danielle Spencer. I was planning to move her to Los Angeles through a friend, but she wanted to wait for her ulcer to heal first. When I heard the news of her passing, my body stiffened and memories of the 49+ years we spent together came flooding back. She passed peacefully, and I know she was with her mother and brother as she transitioned. Thank God for this true supernatural friendship journey. Grateful, but still sad. For Jeremy Pelt, Danielle's brother, the loss is irreparable. August 11, 2025 will forever be the day I lost a big part of myself. Many people knew her as Dee, but to me, she was my friend, my father's loving aunt, my daughter, and in many moments, my mother's best friend. She was my veterinarian, my optimist, even on the darkest of days. And most of all, she was my sister and my protector. Holly Robinson Petey, a childhood friend, still vividly remembers the first time she met Danielle in 1977 when they were both 13 years old. It was heartbreaking. I was so sad to hear of the passing of this beautiful actress I first met in 1977. We became instant friends. Danielle was a natural comedienne. She not only made the audience laugh, she had the place laughing before she walked in. Few sitcom actresses have that ability. All of these farewells, though, each expressed them differently, all portrayed the complete Danielle Spencer, the smart, witty Dee on screen, the devoted veterinarian in real life, a strong, gentle woman who always left a warm mark in the hearts of those who met her. Pastor Marcus Martin at New Bridge Baptist Church, where she was attached, had touching words for her, a radiant, warm soul. She always took the time to greet and talk to everyone. The head of the parish emphasized that Danielle was not only a celebrity, but also a blessing to the community, always ready to listen, help, and live a simple but humane life. Who inherits Danielle Spencer's fortune? When the spotlight went out, Danielle Spencer's life story was not over. According to Celebrity Net Worth, Danielle Spencer's net worth at the time of her death was around $1 million. This figure did not come from million-dollar Hollywood contracts, but was the result of a lifetime of hard work. The remuneration from her roles, her steady income from many years of veterinary work in Richmond, and the revenue from her book projects and television appearances. This was just enough wealth to reflect a fulfilling life, not too lavish, but not lacking either. What's remarkable is that Danielle's life has not revolved around the accumulation of wealth for herself. Friends and colleagues describe her as more compassionate than rich in money. At the veterinary clinic, she provides free or discounted treatment to pet owners in need. At community fairs, she is always the first volunteer to arrive and the last to leave. However, the answer to the question, who did she leave her assets to, remains a mystery. Her family and representatives have not released any information about her will or heirs. It is known that her remaining relatives include her mother, Cheryl Pelt, and her younger brother, jazz artist Jeremy Pelt. They were the few people mentioned in articles after her death, and were also the people who were considered closest to Danielle in her final years. This silence has left the public guessing. Will she leave everything to her family? Or will she use some of it to establish a fund for veterinary medicine or student scholarships? For someone who has spent her life caring for animals and helping the community, the scenario of her leaving a humanitarian mark through her assets is entirely possible. Danielle Spencer passed away at the age of 60, but her mark remains. In the memories of the audience, in the smiles of her four-legged patients, and in the hearts of the community she loved. Her life was like a movie with glory, with tragedy. But above all, it was a journey of living fully with kindness and resilience. Danielle Spencer's influence and legacy. The veterinarian of the heart. Many veterinarians treat animals. Danielle treats the hearts of those who love them. For her, each case is more than a medical record. It is a story, one filled with hope, anxiety, and sometimes tears. During her years in Richmond, she not only examined patients, but also listened, guided, and reassured. People came to her clinic not just for their beloved pets, but for the peace of mind, knowing that someone truly cared. That kindness made her a friend of the community rather than just a doctor. Dual legacy. From screen to clinic, Danielle Spencer is a quintessential Black cultural icon. In the history of American television, few Black children have left such a strong and lasting mark as Dee Thomas of What's Happening. Appearing in the mid-70s when American television still rarely portrayed the real life of African American families, Danielle Spencer brought a completely different image. A smart, sharp girl who dared to speak her mind and was not at all confined to the stereotypes of Black children. The line, "Ooh, I'm gonna tell Mama quickly," became a catchphrase that spread throughout popular culture. It was not only associated with the role of Dee, but also represented a generation of Black audiences seeing themselves on screen. Thanks to that, Danielle became one of the young faces who helped pave the way for the next generation of Black actors. Children's roles were especially given more space and more multidimensional personalities. Her recognition by the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture as the only child actress to be permanently housed in the museum not only recognizes her artistic achievement, but also her cultural influence. Dee Thomas was not just an entertainer, but an icon representing the presence, voice, and pride of the African American community on national television. That influence extends beyond the screen. While she left Hollywood to become a veterinarian, Danielle has remained true to her human values. In her Richmond clinic, she continues to be a strong, successful, compassionate Black woman, proving that Black success is not limited to any field. With a DVM from Tuskegee University, Danielle has dedicated decades of her medical career to providing compassionate care to animals and comfort to their owners. Both the arts and medicine bear her mark, creating a rare dual legacy. Lessons from a life of resilience. Danielle's life is proof that greatness does not necessarily come with a halo. From the accident in 1977 to temporary disability, to the breast cancer diagnosis in 2014 to the brain surgery in 2018, she has kept going. Colleagues and friends call her brilliant, loving, positive, pragmatic warrior. "We live ordinary lives, but we can still achieve greatness," said Rabbi Marcus Martin. Danielle lived that way, simply but meaningfully blessing others every day. Tangible assets may be the numbers in her account, but Danielle's greatest legacy is her memories, her inspiration, and her kindness. She is proof that one person can shine in many different fields, and that success is not only measured by fame or money, but also by the hearts touched, Please send Danielle Spencer your deepest condolences in the comments section below.